the foundation was not there. It was not, sustainable. It was not long term. And I only learned those lessons after the bankruptcy, after all the depression and anxiety, after my suicide attempt, when I had my aha moment. I just started writing everything I need to change, I need to learn, I need to do differently, new habits, everything. I had to rebuild myself, like from the ground up. I'm afraid if I don't fail every few days, because that means that I'm slacking off. I'm not pushing the boundaries enough. So I'm afraid if I'm not failing. It means I'm too much in my comfort zone.
And that is coming up next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show, so stay tuned. So, the big question is this. How are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough? Use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams. Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question. And this podcast will give you the answers. We have created a tremendous community of bootstrappers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are ambitious, resourceful, and want to get things done. We brainstorm, support, and help each other out. So come join us. Navigate to bootstrapping.group, join today, and get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series absolutely free. If you enjoy this video, then do let us know by hitting that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, then go ahead and hit that thumbs down button and give us your honest feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging videos, interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing and do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we'll be talking with Miha Matlievski. At just 18 years of age, Miha, a Slovenian high school dropout, dreamed of becoming a successful entrepreneur. And he pursued it with a passion, putting in 12 years of hard work that resulted in 4 successful businesses and a personal net worth of $15 million. But in December 2009, an unexpected call from his bank, which had decided to foreclose on his real estate investments, brought his world crashing down. And that one negative event instigated an avalanche ruin for him and his businesses, resulting in 4 once successful companies going bankrupt. So now the fail coach, as Miha calls himself, he has forged his approach to helping entrepreneurs and business executives by using his monumental personal failure and eventual redemption to help get others where they need to go and find their personal success and fulfillment. Welcome, Miha. What an amazing story. I would love to get into this and learn more about it.
Well, hello, Manuj.
Yeah, that's right.
Did I get that right? Okay,
you
great.
got that absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, let's get into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You decided to drop out of high school and start a business. So how was that like? What was your first business all about?
I didn't start with starting a business. My father had a small family business, and I kind of didn't like the whole school system. I was just too lazy for that. And when my Italian teacher flanked me in my 3rd year out of 4 years, I was like, okay, if I go back and repeat that year, I will have the same teacher because it's just one Italian teacher in the whole school. And it wasn't that I didn't know Italian. It was more that she didn't like my attitude, missing a lot of classes and so on. And so it was more like a power struggle. And of course, she was higher on the power scale, so she won. And then, even when I was in high school, I would usually go to my father's company, and I just loved the whole entrepreneurial thing. And It was either repeat or go work for my father. And I decided to do that.
I see. I see. So when did you start working then?
I mean, officially with 18, unofficially with 15.
I see. I see. So, what was that business about? Was it in any particular industry, real estate?
Yeah. No. It was a wholesale of high voltage energy equipment. So,
I see.
like cables, transformer stations, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. And so, when did you start your own business? At what age?
Well, the thing is that when I was 23, my father suddenly died. Like really,
Oh,
he had pancreatic cancer. So he went
mhm.
from diagnosed to dead in 3 weeks. And I
Wow.
was the only child, and my
Mm,
mom was just, a bank clerk. So I
mm,
took over the family business. So that was my real, start with the entrepreneurship. But then my first that was really my business, I started in 2005, and then one in 2006, and another one in 2007.
mm.
And that the last one was in real estate.
I see. I see. So I'm sorry about your father. But like what kind of challenges did you face? I'm sure that would have been like a really challenging time, having lost a loved one, and then now you have to take on a huge responsibility. So how did you?
Everything was a challenge, because in those few years when he was still alive,
Mhm.
my father really loved me. And by loved me, I mean I was more son by occupation.
Mhm.
So I really loved networking. I loved talking with clients. So that was something I really enjoyed doing, and that was all I knew. And I had no clue about cash flows and leadership and managing employees, like nothing on how to
Mhm.
really run a business.
Mhm.
So everything was a challenge. It was really like starting from zero.
Uh-huh. So, can you tell us, like, how did you overcome that? Like, what was that mindset like? Because, a lot of people, if they face such a challenge, I will say a lot of people sort of, they give up, or, they start making a lot of mistakes. They get frustrated. It's kind of tough to keep going in this situation, right? So I want to dig a little bit deeper into your
Yeah.
mindset. What kept you going, and, what was that motivation like?
I mean, the thing was that I only learned how to really properly set up business and foundation and all of that much later on. It was actually after that suicide attempt in 2010.
Mhm.
Uh, at the time when I took over the company, I just did failure after failure. And, that was the time when, there was no Facebook and mentorship and stuff like that. So you only could learn from books, and I didn't even make the time to learn from books. I just kind of winged everything and was hoping for the best. And very quickly, my father's company was almost close to bankruptcy. But then, it felt like, oh, I'm going to disappoint my father. So I miraculously found two people who saw something in me that I am good in certain parts. And if they add, the whole running the company, that could be a good deal. And they pumped some money in, they started running the show. And I was back to doing sales and networking and stuff like that. And our cash flow picked up like crazy. And then, because I didn't learn anything from this lesson, I started creating new companies. But again, without laying down any proper foundation, I was just overconfident. I was in my 20s. I was
Mhm.
flying high. Everything was doing well. Fancy trips, fancy restaurants, and I was on cloud number 9. And I didn't lay down the foundation. So when that financial crisis came in 2009 in Europe, my house was the first to blow away because the
Mhm.
foundation was not there. Like that story of 3 pigs and the wolf. And so the
Mhm.
first pig has his home made out of hay or something,
Mhm.
and the wolf just blows, and the house goes away. That was my businesses. The foundation was not there. It was not, sustainable. It was not long term. And I only learned those lessons after the bankruptcy, after all the depression and anxiety, after my suicide attempt, when I had my aha moment. Oh shit, it was really me making all those mistakes. I have to stop blaming everybody else, but I can do something, I can learn, I can grow. And that's when I started self-development, business development, learning about, processes and KPIs and benchmarking and all that boring stuff that's, so unentrepreneurial, but you need to have that in a company if you want to have a sustainable business.
Yeah, so true. Well, I mean, you just opened up a whole new can of worms. So I'm going to go through a lot of questions here related to what you just said. So, one thing I want to highlight is I want to make sure that people who are listening or watching, the idea about entrepreneurship is, nobody talks about this ugly truth or the ugly side of entrepreneurship. And thank you so much for being honest and truthful and sharing your story so openly. But that's the fact that, entrepreneurship is hard, and you need to really dial in your mindset and be prepared for all these highs and lows that will be part of your journey, right?
Yeah,
as you
absolutely.
just said, like, on the surface, you were flying high, you were, doing, enjoying the life and enjoying the fruits of your labor. But inside, the processes were not there, which led to the company going bankrupt. And then,
Manuj,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but the thing was, in if I look back, 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, the macroeconomic situation in Eastern Europe, which Slovenia is a part of, was so blooming. I can't remember a single company going bankrupt. And the thing was, if you were an entrepreneur with a roughly good idea and you were walking down the street, the bank was just throwing money at you. That was the situation back then. It was at the height of the bubble, and it was so easy to get funded, so easy to get money. But the thing was, that I never had to put in any foundation. But at that time, I didn't saw that as, oh, the whole macroeconomic picture is so amazing. No, I just saw that I'm such an amazing guy. And I almost probably thought that I'm King Midas, whatever I touch turns into gold. And then reality check came with the crisis. And, the companies that has less and little foundation were the first one to blow away.
No, I mean, we had the same thing in North America as well, and that's what I'm trying to highlight here. That if you don't do the work of foundational work, it can lead to a lot of grief later on as you grow your business. So, can you share with us a little bit more about your, suicide attempt? It's sad, but I want to make sure that we cover that because, I'm assuming that attempt was directly related to your business, right?
Like first my businesses were crashing, then I got divorced. Before I was part of all these, President Cigar Club, Rotary Club, and all of that. And I consider those people there, to be my homies, my true friends, Not that we are just there because we are part of that organization. And then when everything was falling, those were the first people to never answer my phone again. And, it was kind of like combination where I didn't just lose my businesses. I didn't just lose all my net worth and everything and ended up 5 million in personal debt, but I lost literally everything. I felt so alone on the whole world. And I was, like I said, I was blaming everything and everybody else. At one point you start seeing the failure as a one-time thing, but you just start considering yourself a failure. And, that's it. Like from now on until I die, that's it. Darkness, no dreams, no goals. I'm no good. Nothing will ever come from me. I'm never going to be successful again. From now on, it's just suffering. And Also, because I owed so much money to so many people and companies, I would wake up every morning to phone calls. And they were not nice phone calls, you know. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to sue you. It was like more like mafia would call you. And, you know, bam, it's morning and I'm already depressed. I'm already in my head. And it felt like almost my head is this roller coaster of nuclear reactions, never stopping. And I couldn't run away from it. I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't get that little peace and silence. I remember, for example, on a Friday evening when, you know, the calls would stop until Monday morning, I was trying not to fall asleep the whole weekend because, you know, in my view, it was you go to sleep and bam, 8 hours are gone. So I was trying to kind of like make the time go slower by not going to sleep. And stuff like that. And, you know, when I was at home, I would just be on the couch, you know, curled up and just wanting to go out. But then every now and then when somebody would still invite me for a coffee, I was there, but I wasn't listening. I wasn't present. My mind was racing from all the problems. And I was in my head just like, oh, when can this coffee be over and I can just go away? But then I would go back home and you know, I wasn't able to be by myself. And because of all of that happening, that idea of suicide was, you know, more appealing because you know, maybe for a second you suffer, but then bam, it's all gone. It's silence. And all I wanted was that silence. And yeah, it was like in 2010, one night at around 11 p.m. when I was on the balcony already and looking down. But at that time, I first time said to myself out loud, Miha, you failed. Hearing myself heard, you know, I heard the word you. And you know how they say when you are about to die, that movie starts rolling in your head. It was that same feeling. It was like me going back in time and, you know, you chose that project. You decided not to double check that with a lawyer. You employ that person, you pick that business partner, you. And as much as it was hard to admit, it was so enlightening because my next thought was, you know, if I did all those mistakes and I was still able to, you know, get to so many millions, if I now change things, if I learn things, if I make better choices, I can do so much bigger. And that was for the first time after a very long time when, you know, the light started shining again on the other side of the tunnel. I mean, it was a huge tunnel. There was a lot I have to do on my personal development, on my business development, but, you know, the light came back.
That's awesome. Amazing story. So yeah, I mean, coming back to the same point, you know, our minds have a lot to do with how we behave in the world, what kind of decisions we make. So let's get a little bit deeper again. So once you had that epiphany moment that, you know, that it's all on you, you are responsible for the successes and the failures, what happened next? Like, how did you, you know, pick yourself up from that moment onwards and continued on to your journey?
So the first thing that I did after the aha moment, I obviously climbed back in from the balcony, but then I sat down, I stayed up all night, and I just started writing everything I need to change, I need to learn, I need to do differently, new habits, everything. I had to rebuild myself, like from the ground up. And then first thing in the morning, what I did was I started calling people before they started calling me. And I was like, you know what? If you want to kill me, if that's going to make you happy, then let's do it now. Because continuing living this way doesn't make any sense. So let's just finish it here. But if you do want your money back, and I don't owe you just a couple of grand, so, you know, I can just get a job and repay in 3 months. I need to create something huge, something amazing. I need peace and quiet and time. And so if you want, let's make a deal. I'll call you once a month. and give you an update. But for the rest of the days, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to know that you exist. I need that peace and quiet. And they all agreed to that. And that was really it. Like it gave me that time and peace and quiet. And I just started working on, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, certain new mindsets, like permanent beta, nothing's ever perfect, and so on. And then business development stuff, like how do you make a business plan, a lean business plan? How do you, make a product market fit? How do you plan out client journey? How do you do this? How do you do that? And so I was adding both soft skills and hard skills. And it took me quite some time, 3.5 years, before I was ready to start again. And I created a startup. I scaled that startup from 0 to multiple 8 figures a month in a year. Wow. And then to 9 figures 1 year later, to multiple 9 figures. And then I had a very good exit. I was able to walk away because the foundation was there. The processes and all of that I was seen as not important, so I was able to walk away. And then I was able to repay my past debts.
Awesome. That's great. That's an awesome story. Now, do you think that first of all, can you tell us that what were the main focus points of your journey where you focused on self-improvement, your emotional intelligence? Like, what are the exercises you took? Like, can you share some tactical things that maybe other people can adopt in their lives?
For example, for mindfulness, I did a very simple thing. I opened my iPhone, I went into the reminders app, and every half an hour from the moment I normally wake up to the time when I normally go to sleep, I made a reminder, be mindful, and made it to repeat every day. And every day I was more and more mindful between those reminders until a few weeks later, I was mindful throughout the whole day. With emotional intelligence, it was very important for me to really understand how to use logic and how to use emotions and when to use it. So I would write down the different roles that I'm doing, the different tasks that I'm doing. And then I would be very mindful up front, not in the heat of the moment, but, when I was calm, when I was free of emotions, whether it's best to use emotions or it's more best to be logical at that time. And so I was building this database of, how to respond. I also did that breathing exercises. There's a whole course in Ayurveda about breathing. So I did that. So that helped me a lot, combined with mindfulness, so something happened and I was able to step away, do a few deep breathe in, breathe out, and, calm myself to the point where I was able to really choose and drive my decisions, whether this is something I want to respond right away. Do I need more time? Is it better with logic, with emotions? And then, I don't know, all sorts of things. Like I said, I had to rebuild myself from the ground up. I had to get to know myself, what are my real values? Because before I was so influenced by the world outside of me. And, I kind of took the values that were more common in the community where I was living in, instead of what I truly believe in, how I want to live my life, what are my goals, what's important to me, what's not important, what I hate, where I don't make compromises, and things like that. So like I said, it was quite a long journey, a lot of writing, a lot of journaling, a lot of dialogues with myself. And then that in Buddhism, you have that circle of life that kind of, you put all the different areas of your life, and then you grade yourself where you think you are right now. And then you try to make it that you circle it out instead of making it a star that is completely unbalanced. So was working a lot on those things, like really just very personal, very foundational for me as a person, that are really valuable also when you're an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you have to constantly push yourself out of the comfort zone.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
One important thing was how to deal with failure, how to accept it for what it really is, a good learning experience and a possibility to grow and change my whole attitude around failure. And now, for example, I'm afraid if I don't fail every few days, because that means that I'm slacking off. I'm not pushing the boundaries enough. So I'm afraid if I'm not failing, it means I'm too much in my comfort zone. So those things, like really changing, brainwashing everything that I knew, everything that I was before, and rebuilding it into a new Miha.
Awesome. And during this period, like how did you figure out this is the right step for you? Because you're obviously coming out of a very turbulent experience. So did you like seek out mentors, coaches who sort of told you, okay, this is the right thing to do, or did you just figure it out on your own?
I mean, at that time in Europe, it really wasn't an option to find a coach or a mentor. They were non-existent.
Okay.
You only had, like these coaches and mentors for the big corporations, but not for entrepreneurs. I was blessed with a few friends who, would share their knowledge, their wisdom. They were more balanced. They were more, in tune with themselves. So I would listen to them. We would go for a walk. So, one friend said, you have to go for these breathing exercises. And at that time, I was just saying yes to, whatever sounded different. Because one thing really was stuck in my head. And I think this is the quote by Albert Einstein, that if you keep doing same things and you expect that something will change, that's, meaning you're crazy. And I didn't want to be crazy. So I kind of understood that I have to do things that I've never done before. So whenever somebody told me, or whenever I saw something that was new, that was unlike something I did in the past, I would just say yes and try it.
I see. That's great. And so we have a lot of first-time entrepreneurs. We have startup founders and people who already have successful businesses in the audience. So, but everybody, as we know, entrepreneurship is full of obstacles and problems every day. As you said, if you're not failing, then that means you're getting too comfortable. What kind of advice will you give it to them, and tie it back to your experience? How much should they emphasize on working on themselves as well as their business? Because when we are in business, like we are focused so much and hustling and selling and building new things, we forget to devote time to ourselves. So how important is that according to you?
The most important thing. The hardest work is the work that you do on yourself. It's so much easier to help everybody else, to see where others are doing things wrong and where they could improve. But the hardest thing is to do that for yourself. But it's also the most rewarding thing that you will ever do. And now that I'm coaching many very successful entrepreneurs, 7, 8, 9, 10 figures, every time I do more life coaching than actual business coaching.
Yeah.
Because it's always something within them that is preventing them to go to the next ladder, to the next step. And we need to first figure out what's inside of them, the entrepreneur. And there are certain mindsets, like permanent beta, don't make excuses, do action, and things like that you just have to accept and to become an entrepreneur. So yes, the work on yourself is the most important. And then the second thing would be foundation, working on the foundation for your business. Because building a business is just like building a house. And, when you start building a house, the first thing you do is you put down the foundation. Then you start building the house. Otherwise, it would just fall down. And then if, a few years later, you say, oh, you know what? This house, I will make it bigger. I will make it 5-story house. What's the first thing? You have to go back to foundation, make the foundation stronger and so on before you can start building up. And the same goes for your business.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now let's talk about your coaching and how you help entrepreneurs. So how did you come up with the name, first of all, the Fail Coach?
I didn't. I was having a few beers with a friend a few years ago, thinking, now what do I do next? What do I start a business or something? And and in that time I was already volunteering a lot and mentoring, and I had a few advisory roles. And he said, well, Miha, you just love doing this so much. You love helping others. Why don't you just do that? And it's like, wow, that really makes sense. And then a few more beers later, I had to come up with a name. And I was, like, oh, what am I now? Success Guru, Success Ninja, crazy names like that. And that same friend, he said, Miha, everything that you ever start, you always start. I did this. I failed because of this. And this is this. This is what I learned. This is how I did it. And this is how it worked. He said, everything you always say that you've learned is from your failures. Just be a fail coach. And I don't know whether it was the beer or something else, but I fell in love with that. And later on, when I started, now how do I describe it? And in reality, if you look at it as an entrepreneur, to get to that success, you have to go through many, many failures to achieve one success. So what's more important? Of course, it's important to learn the things that work, but it's also important how to establish healthy relationship with failure, how to deal with failure, how to sometimes prevent failure, how to, when failure is happening, how to respond quickly, and so on. It's very, very important. And it just made sense. And I haven't looked back. And my clients really often they say, after they work with me for a while, they say, oh, now I really understand why you are the fail coach.
Awesome. That's a great story. And by the way, if anybody is looking to rebrand or come up with a name, go get some beers and, the answers will come to you. All right. Well, that has been such an entertaining and educational interview. Thank you so much for sharing your life story and being so honest and open. I'm sure a lot of people will get inspiration from this, and they will realize how important it is to work on themselves rather than, go seek out the answers or the strategies. First, you work on yourself, and then, of course, you need all the strategies and everything else in place. So now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you?
Oh, sure. I mean, the best way and something that will get them the most value is, every twice a week, I open up my Zoom client and people can just jump in and we tackle their problems. So they jump in, they tell me what the struggles are, we brainstorm together, I give them actionable advice and so on. So they can get to know me, talk with me. It's completely free. And all they have to do is type frameworkforfreedom.me. And that will get them into my chatbot. And we never spam anybody. It's really just to notify them when our upcoming brainstorming session will be. And then they can just sign up if they want through Calendly, and that's it. And that's awesome. The best way where they can jump in, ask me questions. It's not pre-recorded. We don't record it because I want to create a safe space when everybody can ask whatever they want. And I think that's the best way, and they will get the most value in that way.
Awesome. That's so amazing. And thank you so much for doing that. Obviously you care a lot about other entrepreneurs and you're helping them out. So thank you for doing that.
It's really a huge pleasure of mine. I just love doing it.
Thank you so much. And that's all for now. Until next time. Now, If you're an entrepreneur or a career professional, then I invite you to join our growing community. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. As a welcome bonus, you will get the Startup Founders Technology Accelerator video series and Mastering Your Inner Game video series absolutely free. This series of short videos address some core issues which are instrumental in helping you move forward in your business or career. The videos are yours to view and share for free. No obligations or strings attached, except for one. You have to take action and implement it. So join us today. Navigate to bootstrapping.group. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out the other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.